Hi, Matt Landsman here, Landsman Law. I wanted to give you an overview of Florida criminal cases, in particular legal services involving DUIs and related traffic offenses, or all kinds of Florida traffic offenses, the most common of which is DUI. So I want to go through them piece by piece. It's going to be a very brief overview of each kind and some major things to be concerned about. So the first one is going to be DUI. Then I'll go through leaving the scene of an accident, fleeing, attempting to elude, and lastly, driving on a suspended license. So the first thing that you need to know as far as Florida traffic offenses are concerned is that DUI is the most common that people are going to run into, and it's crucial to know that DUI in Florida carries a series of mandatory penalties, and I can go with those a little bit further in other separate videos. But generally, DUI in Florida means driving while you're impaired by drugs or alcohol, and your normal faculties are impaired, or your blood alcohol is over 0.08, the legal limit here in Florida. Now, DUI can be a felony or a misdemeanor based on the circumstances presented. Some different circumstances, for example, would be DUI generally is going to be called really a specified criminal traffic offense, but generally it's a misdemeanor because it's punishable by usually less than a year in jail. But for example, a first DUI with no enhancements or aggravators and no prior record is going to be a maximum of 6 months in the county jail, followed by a series of other conditions. But that doesn't mean that's what's going to happen, but that's what you could get. Now, the enhancements in DUI changes based on additional aggravating circumstances. For example, if you have prior DUIs, the sentencing for DUI goes up with every prior DUI up until it becomes a felony, in which case then you have the criminal punishment code applicable to it, which we can talk about in a different section. And there's also additional mandatory penalties other than the jail time increasing as the maximum. You can have additional probation, you can have additional community service, you can have additional driver's license suspensions, things like that as the more aggravating it becomes. Additional aggravators could be if the blood alcohol is over 0.15. That can be an aggravating circumstance leading to an enhanced sentence, or if there's property damage involved, that can also be an enhancement. A DUI can also become a felony if depending on the nature and seriousness of an accident or any harm caused. So, if like a person is seriously injured, for example. So that's generally what DUI means in Florida. It can be committed in any kind of vehicle. That can be a problem. But typically, the person is driving. There's either crash or there's traffic stop, and there's the evidence that the state believes they could use against the person to prove their normal faculties are impaired, or they are statutorily blowing or have a blood alcohol over 0.08. So that's generally DUI. It's a very serious offense here in Florida compared to many other states, and there's a lot of ways to combat it, to fight it, but that's for a separate section of this website. The second common kind of traffic offense that you may run into is leaving the scene of an accident. For example, there's some sort of accident, no matter how minor, and some amount of information is going to be required in Florida law to be provided to the other driver and stay on scene, and with certain exceptions. But it's very common that people don't provide enough information and then leave. That happens, causing a misdemeanor leaving the scene of an accident. However, leaving the scene of an accident can become a felony based on the seriousness of the accident, if there's serious injury or death. So there's a lot of there can be mandatory penalties with that as well. That could include, for example, a mandatory adjudication or driver's license suspension, things like that. Another kind of Florida traffic offense to be concerned about is fleeing and attempting to elude, and that's essentially either not stopping for the police if you know you're being pulled over, or having stopped then proceed to continue driving after you've stopped. Either way would be fleeing, attempting to elude. Also can be, it's always a felony. However, it can be different degrees of felony based on aggravating circumstances. For example, if the police had their lights and sirens engaged, or if there was recklessness or high speed during the pursuit, that can make it go from a third degree felony to a second degree felony, etc. Also has a mandatory penalty. There can be mandatory conviction, driver's license suspension. Also can be discussed in another section of the website. But that's kind of an overview. And lastly, the fourth most common kind of traffic offense you may see in Florida is driving on a suspended license, which can be either a civil citation, uh, basically the person who's driving their license suspended, they didn't know it, or a criminal offense, so it'd be civil, a misdemeanor criminal offense, or a felony criminal offense. Florida has enacted a law that has changed some what were previously felony driving a suspended license charges back to misdemeanor based on the lack of certain criminal record. But generally, it can be either a misdemeanor or felony based on aggravating circumstances, for example, prior record, and if they're a habitual traffic offender and things like that. So that's kind of a rough overview of all the different kinds of DUIs and Florida traffic crimes that you can run into. There are some additional ones that aren't I'm not going to go into here. But if you have any questions, Matt Landsman, Landsman Law, for you.